Orhan stands alone inside an old, broken tunnel. The place is silent, so he stays alert and keeps his weapon ready. Without warning, several demon rats rush straight at him. He reacts instantly and cuts them down with quick, clean sword swings. After the fight, he pauses for a moment. His breathing is steady. His body doesn't feel weak. He realizes he is not as rusty as he believed. That small success gives him hope. Maybe his dream of becoming a true swordsman is not dead yet. Before he can relax, a group of goblins appears ahead. This time, Orhan decides not to rely only on his sword. He chooses to test his support magic. He casts the spell on himself. Power flows through his body, and a dark green light surrounds him. Support magic is mainly used to increase physical strength or improve equipment. Most people use it on teammates, but it can also be used on oneself. With his strength boosted, Orhan moves forward and defeats the goblins with ease. These kinds of spells are important for surviving hard battles. Still, Orhan knows their weakness. Support magic does not last forever. The duration depends on how strong the caster's magic resistance is. For Orhan, the effect only lasts about 3 minutes. If the spell fades in the middle of a fight, the danger increases immediately. He casts the spell again at the right moment and calmly finishes off the last group of goblins with careful movements. Even after seeing his skill and control, the party leader, Oliver, suddenly tells Orhan that he is being removed from the group. Orhan is completely stunned. He cannot believe what he is hearing. To him, it sounds like a cruel joke. After all, he and Oliver have been friends since they were kids. Oliver then speaks honestly. He says their friendship is real, and that is exactly why he gave Orhan so many chances. But in the end, nothing changed. Orhan can no longer keep up with the rest of the team. Annalie and Derek step forward and tell Oliver to stop softening the truth. They bluntly tell Orhan that he is being kicked out because he is not strong enough. Orhan stands there, frozen. His mind struggles to accept it. This party was formed by Orhan and Oliver 8 years ago. They grew fast and became incredibly powerful. They were the first group to ever reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon. Because of that, people began calling them the Heroes Party. Oliver admits that Orhan's support magic is not useless, but during their last mission, they saw enchanters from other teams. After comparing the difference, they realized how far behind Orhan truly was. Orhan reminds them that he is a swordsman, not a pure enchanter. Support magic was never supposed to be his main role. Dennis suddenly snaps at him and tells him to stop lying. He says Orhan only changed roles because Oliver was always better with a sword. Orhan denies it. He explains that the party desperately needed an enchanter, and he was the one with the most talent for it. He even created his own magic to cover his weaknesses. That effort is likely the reason they survived the deepest dungeon floors. Oliver ends the argument. He tells Orhan it no longer matters because they have already found a replacement. Orhan's eyes widen. He asks if this is really how they plan to treat him after everything they have been through. Deep down, he knows Oliver is right. There is no reason to keep fighting. Holding on to his last bit of pride, Orhan turns around and walks away. As he leaves, Annalie calls out to him. She says people like him are called Jack of all trades. He can do many things, but he is never truly great at any one of them. Later, while walking through the tunnel, Orhan thinks about those words. He believes he is flexible enough to master both the sword and magic, and when that day comes, no one will dare call him that again. Feeling exhausted, Orhan decides to head home. At the dungeon entrance, a group of adventurers suddenly runs out. They are pale, shaking, and clearly terrified. Orhan ignores them and keeps walking. Then he hears something that makes him slow down. They are talking about being ambushed by a large group of orcs. With no way to fight back, they were forced to retreat, and in their escape, they had no choice but to leave behind the new girl who joined their party earlier that day. Orhan suddenly stops when he hears their conversation. He knows he should walk away and stay out of it. Even so, his body refuses to move. His hand tightens into a fist. He understands better than anyone how painful it is to be abandoned by your own team. The adventurers begin defending their choice, saying they had no option but to leave the girl behind. That is when Orhan finally speaks. He tells them that people like them anger him the most. They argue back, claiming that even if they had stayed, the result would have been the same. Their leader loses his temper after being questioned by a stranger. He throws a punch at Orhan. Orhan calmly blocks the attack and strikes back, slamming the man hard onto the ground. He then asks them where they left the girl. Deep inside the dungeon, the girl is pressed against a stone wall. Orcs slowly close in on her from every side. She raises a magical barrier to protect herself. For a short time, it holds, but the orcs keep smashing it again and again until it finally breaks. With nowhere left to run, she lowers her head and quietly accepts what what is coming. Suddenly, a strong wind sweeps through the room. In the next instant, Orhan appears in front of her. Without hesitation, he casts his support magic and charges forward. His sword flashes as he cuts down several orcs. The girl stares in disbelief. She has never seen someone fight while using support magic at the same time. She cannot tell if he is a swordsman or an enchanter. Orhan keeps moving, striking down enemy after enemy. The girl watches in shock, unable to look away. As the fight continues, Orhan realizes there are many orcs. He understands why a weak party would choose to flee. Even so, he knows they are no threat to him. Using his enhanced blade, he finishes the remaining orcs in a single swift attack. When the battle ends, Orhan walks over and asks if she is hurt. The girl suddenly collapses and breaks down in tears. A few minutes later, they leave through a nearby exit. Outside the dungeon, Orhan tells her goodbye and starts to walk away. She quickly stops him and says she wants to thank him properly. She introduces herself as Sophia and offers to buy him dinner as a way of showing her gratitude. Orhan refuses at first, saying he did not save her for thanks. Sophia looks at him with pleading eyes. He sighs and gives in, unable to turn her down. He agrees to eat with her. Before they leave, Orhan notices the symbol on her cloak. It feels familiar, though he cannot remember where he has seen it. That night, they arrive at a small restaurant. Sophia says it is her favorite place. When Orhan sees the sign outside, his memory clicks. The symbol belongs to one of the rabbit shops. He connects it to the crest on her cloak and realizes that Sophia is part of the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the largest guilds in the kingdom of Nohittin. Inside the restaurant, Sophia suddenly runs into her older sister, Selma. Sophia asks why she is there, and Selma casually replies that she had business nearby and stopped to eat. Selma notices Orhan and immediately scolds Sophia, saying it is too early for her to be hanging around men. Sophia is surprised to learn that Orhan and Selma already know each other. Selma is a member of an S-ranked team, the strongest group within the Silver Rabbits. She is also known as the most powerful enchanter on the continent. She was the one who made enchantment famous. She created the idea of dividing parties into roles: attackers to fight, defenders to protect, and supporters to assist from behind. That system changed how all adventurers prepare for dungeons. It was because of her influence that Orhan chose to become an enchanter for his old party, and after seeing Selma's overwhelming enchantments during a raid last month, Oliver and the others decided Orhan was no longer needed. Orhan looks at Selma, confused by the cold glare she gives him. Suddenly, Selma accuses him of trying to get close to her 14-year-old sister. Orhan quickly explains that all he agreed to was dinner and that his intentions are clean. That answer only makes Selma angrier. She assumes he is saying Sophia is not good enough for him. Before things get worse, Sophia steps in and tells Selma to stop yelling. She reminds her that this man is the one who saved her life. Selma looks confused at first, then after a moment her expression changes. She finally understands what happened. Sophia went into the dungeon alone. Sophia lowers her head and apologizes. The three of them sit down and begin eating together. Sophia is still curious about how Orhan and Selma know each other. Orhan explains that they met during a large raid. Back then, both of them were enchanters assigned to the same unit. Selma ranked higher, so she led the group while Orhan supported her during the mission. Selma looks surprised that Sophia does not recognize Orhan's name. She tells her that he was part of the famous Heroes party. Sophia gasps and immediately starts acting much more polite toward him. Orhan quickly clears things up. He tells them he is no longer part of the Heroes party. Selma is shocked. She cannot believe such a skilled enchanter was let go. She asks if that means Orhan is free now. Orhan assumes she is about to invite him to join the Silver Rabbits. Before she can finish, he refuses and says he does not plan to join any party. Selma stops him and says he misunderstood. She is not trying to recruit him. Instead, she wants him to serve as a tutor for a training expedition starting tomorrow. His job would be to help guide and train new recruits. The plan is for adventurers ranked A and above to lead the group. Over 3 days, they will descend 50 floors into the Southern Great Dungeon. Orhan is stunned. Even elite adventurers usually take 6 months or more to reach that depth. Selma admits it will be extremely difficult, but if they take the shortest route, it is possible. Orhan realizes something does not add up. The plan is dangerous enough that the clan could have rejected the sponsors if they wanted. That means there must be another reason. After thinking for a moment, he understands. If new recruits who cannot even defeat a floor boss are allowed to reach deeper levels, the entire clan will grow stronger much faster. Selma looks surprised. She did not expect Orhan to figure that out so quickly. In the dungeon, a boss appears every 10 floors. Defeating it is required to go deeper. New recruits often get badly injured or even die during these fights. But if a tutor defeats the boss instead, the recruits only need to register at the crystal and continue. That is why the clan needs as many powerful tutors as possible. Selma gently takes Orhan's hands and tells him she truly respects him. That is why she wants him on this mission. Hearing her words, Orhan remembers being kicked out of the heroes party because his support magic was weaker than hers. The thought alone tells him one thing clearly: if he returns to being an enchanter, he will regret it. He pulls his hands back and tells Selma he cannot join because he already has plans. Sophia suddenly looks at him with pleading eyes and begs him to come along. Orhan gives up. He agrees, but with one condition. He tells Selma that he has switched paths. If he joins them, it will be as a swordsman, not an enchanter. Selma is surprised but does not argue. If things go wrong, she believes he can always return to enchantment. She tells him to be at Silver Rabbit headquarters the next morning. Later that night, Orhan visits his favorite shop. The owner is about to close, but still invites him in for a drink. The old man thanks Orhan for promoting the store back when he was a famous adventurer. Because of that, business has been great. Orhan feels awkward and admits he is no longer part of the heroes party. Even so, the owner thanks him sincerely. Orhan is confused. Despite being cast aside, he is still being appreciated. The old man smiles and tells him that he feels Orhan will receive many more thanks in the future. He says leaving the heroes party may actually turn out to be a blessing, one Orhan simply cannot see yet. He tells Orhan to trust his heart and walk his own path. No matter what happens, he promises to always support him. Orhan's eyes fill with tears. He bows his head and thanks the old man from the bottom of his heart. The next morning, Orhan shows up at the Silver Rabbit headquarters. He looks calm, healthy, and way less stressed than before. Selma notices this and asks if he feels lighter now that he's no longer stuck with the heroes party. Orhan says, yeah. Kind of. Not fully happy, but at least his headache is gone. Then the clan leader, Vince Bars, steps in and thanks him for coming. He says he's heard a lot about Orhan already, including the very stupid decision of the heroes party to kick him out. Orhan clearly doesn't want to open that wound again, so he smoothly changes the topic and asks about the teaching mission instead. Selma explains that in 3 days, they'll head deep into the Great Southern Labyrinth, all the way to the 51st floor. On the first day, they'll stop at the 21st floor. On the second day, the 36th, and then they'll push further step by step. While she's explaining this, we jump back to an earlier moment. Selma was talking to Vince about Orhan leaving the heroes party. She said it was a massive loss because without Dura, that team would never be the same. Vince agreed. Sure, Orhan's raw magic power wasn't anything crazy, but his real strength was support magic. His enchantments were fast. No, not fast, ridiculously fast. 4 times faster than Selma's. That's like finishing a fight while others are still warming up. On top of that, Selma had seen him use spells that didn't even exist in books. Original stuff. He could read the battlefield, predict what would happen next, and support his teammates at the exact right moment. Basically, he had every skill a top-tier enchanter should have. Yet the heroes party treated him like yesterday's trash. Selma was sure of one thing. With Orhan around, the Silver Rabbits would climb back to the top very soon. When Vince heard all this, he couldn't understand how someone like Orhan Dura could be thrown away so easily. One of his subordinates explained it simply. Support classes never get proper credit. Because she's famous, people overpraise her. But real monsters like Orhan, they get ignored, stepped on, and blamed for everything. Classic teamwork logic. Back in the present, Orhan listens carefully and reviews the plan. There will be 10 rookie groups and 5 escorts. Selma and Orhan are part of the escort team. The rookies will take turns fighting monsters, and if anything goes wrong, the escorts will jump in and clean up the mess. Orhan then asks a very logical question. Why only 5 escorts? With such a tight schedule and so many beginners, wouldn't more high-ranked fighters reduce the danger? Selma smiles and says they want the rookies to face real hardships so they can grow stronger. Orhan immediately knows that's not the real reason. It smells like half a lie, but he also knows better than to push. He's still an outsider after all. Even so, he agrees to help. Vince thanks him and explains the payment. 2 gold coins up front and 10 more if the mission succeeds. Orhan almost chokes internally. That amount could cover a normal person's living expenses for an entire year. He even says it feels like too much. Selma tells him straight up, this is what they think he's worth. Hearing that, Orhan promises he'll give it everything he's got. A few hours later, Orhan arrives at the dungeon entrance. The rookies are already there, nervously checking their gear and pretending they're not scared. When Selma shows up with Sophia, Orhan notices that Sophia is wearing the same outfit as before. Looks like it's the standard beginner uniform. He tells her she looks great in it. Sophia instantly turns red and thanks him in a tiny voice. Selma watches this and immediately starts teasing him, saying he sure knows how to charm young ladies. Then, with a suspicious look, she asks if he has a girlfriend. Orhan scratches his head and says no, but since his old team had women, he probably learned how to talk without getting slapped. Selma remembers that the heroes' party used to live together in one big mansion. Sophia then asks where Orhan is staying now. He casually answers that he's living at an inn. And just like that, the journey into the labyrinth is about to begin. The moment Sophia asks where Orhan is living, Selma completely freezes. Her brain instantly jumps to the worst conclusion. Why does her little sister want to know his address? Is she planning a visit, a surprise visit, a totally not suspicious visit? Selma panics so hard that Sophia has to wave her hands and quickly explain she was just curious. Nothing else. Selma calms down a little. To escape that awkward moment, Selma switches topics and asks why Orhan is standing so far away from the rookies. Orhan calmly explains that since he's an outsider, he doesn't want to crowd them. In fact, keeping some distance actually makes beginners more alert. Nervous people pay more attention. It's scary, but useful. Since we're already talking about nervous rookies, Orhan suggests Selma help calm them down. She agrees and tells Sophia to go meet up with her team. Not long after, Orhan walks with Selma toward 3 adventurers who are assigned as escorts. Selma introduces Orhan with full confidence, praising him and saying he'll be an amazing teammate. Coming from someone like her, that praise hits hard, and the 3 escorts instantly believe it. Orhan, meanwhile, is quietly dying inside and asks her not to hype him up so much, especially in front of others. Introductions begin. The blue-haired guy says his name is Anthem and that he's a defender. Bernard, the serious-looking one, is also a defender. Kathy introduces herself as the healer. Orhan introduces himself as the attacker. Looking at the lineup, Orhan admits the team is well balanced. But then a thought hits him. If he hadn't joined, one of them would have been forced to act as the attacker. That doesn't sit right with him. This plan feels weird. Seeing the doubt on Orhan's face, Selma once again remembers a private talk she had with Vince. He told her he understood how painful it was to lose such a powerful card, but he also reminded her of a hard truth. Orhan is an enchanter, just like Selma. Because of party balance, he couldn't stay in the first squad, no matter how strong he was. Selma agreed, but it still hurt. Her clan hadn't improved at all since last year, not even one step forward. That made her believe the Silver Rabbits were slowly falling behind. That fear is exactly why she invited Orhan to this expedition. Still, Orhan only agreed on one condition. He would fight on the front lines as a swordsman, not sit in the back as support. All Selma can do now is hope that when things get dangerous, he truly stands at the front. After finishing with the escort group, Selma and Orhan move toward the rookies. Selma steps forward, and the moment she does, everyone falls silent. She announces that today marks the beginning of their descent toward the 51st floor of the Great Southern Labyrinth. She knows they're nervous. Reaching such a deep level so early in their careers is terrifying, but she tells them not to panic because she brought someone special in case anything goes wrong. Then she introduces Orhandora. She reveals that he has already reached the 94th floor, a place even top figures of the kingdom have never seen, a level Selma herself hasn't reached. The rookies are stunned. Whispers spread instantly. People turn their heads, staring at Orhan like he's some dungeon monster wearing human skin. Orhan quietly asks Selma to stop raising the bar any higher. She ignores him. Not only does she say he'll be their main example inside the dungeon, but she also casually drops the bomb that he used to be part of the hero's party. Boom. In one sentence, Orhan becomes a celebrity. The trainees look at him like he's a walking legend. After the speech, Orhan complains that she basically placed him on a god-level pedestal. Selma says it was necessary. If the rookies feel safe, they'll perform better. In Orhan's head, though, the word hero only matters if it helps his grandfather run the shop back home. That's it. He just hopes all this attention doesn't turn into a massive headache later. Selma then assigns Orhan to Team 10, made up of the most talented rookies. If they learn teamwork, they could easily reach the middle floors. She grabs Orhan's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze, as if asking him to look after them. Orhan isn't sure if trusting an outsider this much is wise, but it's too late now. He walks over to Team 10. 3 rookies are standing there, including Sophia. Orhan looks around. Something feels off. Someone is missing. After a quick head count, Orhan realizes something uncomfortable. Yes, everyone is present, but this team is tiny, way too tiny. Sending so few rookies together is risky, extremely risky. The confident boy steps forward with a smile that screams future headache and says that no one else can keep up with their speed anyway. Orhan looks at him and silently wonders what kind of menace this kid will become when he grows up if he already has this much attitude now. Orhan tells them to introduce themselves properly. The smug kid goes first. He says his name is Logan Hayward and proudly declares that he's an enchanter who will one day surpass Selma herself. Orhan nods politely, but inside he's thinking, ah yes, confidence level, boss fight. Next is Caroline Inglot, who introduces herself as a defender. Orhan quickly notices something strange. For a defender, she's barely wearing any protective gear. When he asks about it, Caroline casually explains that she hates armor and shields. She prefers dodging instead of blocking because the idea of disgusting monsters touching her makes her sick. Ironically, because she wants to kill monsters more than anything, she picked the class that forces her to get as close to them as possible. That logic hurts Orhan's brain. He calmly points out that dodging attacks is much harder than blocking them, especially for someone with little experience. He asks if anyone in the clan tried to stop her. Logan answers that plenty of people did, and Caroline ignored all of them. That comment instantly turns into a loud argument between the two. To stop this nonsense before it turns into a duel, Orhan asks the final member to introduce herself. Sophia steps forward and says her name is Sophia Claudel. She explains that she's a rear line attack mage. The moment she finishes, Logan and Caroline start arguing again. Orhan sighs internally. This mission is going to be pain. Surprisingly, the moment they step into the labyrinth, the kids go quiet. The dungeon atmosphere instantly shuts their mouths. While walking, Caroline asks why someone from the heroes' party is even here. She thought their clans were rivals. Orhan calmly explains that he's no longer part of that team. It's a highly prestigious group after all, and he's not in it anymore. Caroline pushes further and demands to know why he left. Orhan refuses to answer. Hard stop. Changing targets, Caroline looks at Sophia and says she must already know Orhan, since she mentioned they'd be escorted by someone amazing. Caroline demands confirmation. Is this the amazing guy? Cornered, Sophia turns as red as her hair and admits that yes, this is him. She says Orhan saved her life once, that he's incredibly strong, and that he used to be part of the heroes' party. She also says her sister told her not to worry, because as long as Dora was there, everything would be fine. Orhan listens quietly. He doesn't see himself as a hero at all. He even wonders if Selma exaggerated everything just to keep her sister calm. Suddenly, 2 wolves that had been silently watching decide to attack from behind. Bad idea. They leap forward and instantly trigger a magical trap Orhan placed earlier along the path. The wolves are neutralized before they even reach the group. Orhan feels relieved. Preparing traps for surprise attacks was the right call. These kinds of enemies aren't worth wasting time on. Time is precious here. If they're going to struggle, it should be against real threats. Later, when Team 10 reaches the 20th floor, Orhan has seen enough. He won't have much trouble supervising them for the rest of the expedition. Logan, despite being annoying, is actually talented. His enchantments are solid, and if he performs well in longer fights, he'll be very useful in a ranked group someday. That said, he's terrible at giving orders, which is a big problem for his role. Still, that's something he can learn with time. Caroline is insanely fast, just like a dodge-based defender should be, but she has 2 serious problems. First, she attacks without thinking and constantly puts herself in danger. Yes, she needs to be on the front line, but the way she throws herself into danger is worrying. Second, she only uses 2 daggers. They fit her style, but the damage output is low. The team lacks firepower because of it. Sophia isn't as flashy as the other 2, but she's already stronger than an average rookie. She hesitates sometimes and stays passive during fights, but that should improve once she syncs better with her teammates. Most importantly, she doesn't have any major weaknesses, which makes her future growth very promising. Meanwhile, Selma's group, with help from the escorts, defeats the boss of the 20th floor. After that, the rookies register the floor on their guild cards, officially ending the first day of the expedition. With some time to relax, Selma asks Orhan what he thinks. He says Team 10 has serious potential, but they don't work well together yet. He admits he's especially worried about Caroline. Selma says she's already improved a lot recently. Orhan can't help but wonder how terrifying she must have been before that improvement. The next morning, Orhan's mood crashes hard. He opens the newspaper and sees a front-page article about the heroes' party's new enchanter. The article openly states that Orhan was expelled. No mercy, no respect. correct. Angry and humiliated, he crushes the paper in his hands. What worries him even more is the thought that some rookie might have read it and started looking at him differently. That's the last thing he wants. As he leaves the inn and heads to the meeting point, a familiar voice calls out to him. It's Luna, someone he hasn't seen in a long time. Back when Orhan was still in the hero's party, when everyone else treated him worse and worse, Luna stayed kind. Always. When he was expelled, she wasn't there. She had been away handling a family matter. And deep down, Orhan believes that if she had been there, things might have gone differently. Luna looks at him with desperate eyes and begs him to come back to the party. Orhan asks the obvious question, do the others want him back too? Luna hesitates and admits that she's the only one asking. Still, she promises that if he returns, she'll do everything she can to convince the others. Orhan can see she means it. She's serious. But he shakes his head. It's too late now, especially after that article. Luna grabs his hand and reminds him of their promise to conquer the Great Labyrinth together. Orhan's expression hardens. He pulls his hand away and says that promise was made by 3 people. Him, Luna, and Oliver. And Oliver was the one who kicked him out. That promise is dead. With that, Orhan walks away, irritated and heavy-hearted. Deep down, he admits that he truly wanted the 3 of them to stay together forever. He really wanted that future, but wishing won't change reality. Orhan Dura has no place to return to anymore. When Orhan reaches the meeting spot, he immediately feels something is off. The students are whispering to each other, clearly talking about the article that spread overnight. They're confused and curious, wondering why Orhan never told them that he was removed from the hero party. Before anyone can question him directly, Selma shows up. She quickly apologizes to Orhan. The day before, she had proudly told the students again and again that he was a member of the hero party, not knowing the truth. Orhan calmly tells her it's fine. He admits that part of the misunderstanding is his fault, since he never clearly explained what happened back then. He reminds everyone that no matter what the article says, the facts haven't changed. He still reached the 94th floor on his own and had no trouble leading them the previous day. A rumor like this doesn't erase his experience or strength. Caroline and Sophia never doubted him for a second, but Logan looks far less convinced. Logan directly asks if the article is true. Orhan answers honestly, yes, he was kicked out for being too weak, but strength is relative. Even so, he promises that he's more than capable of guiding them safely down to the 51st floor. Most of the group accepts this, but Logan silently decides that Orhan must be overrated. They soon enter the dungeon, aiming to reach the 35th floor by the end of the day. Until they pass the 31st floor, Orhan isn't allowed to fight and can only supervise. All he can do is watch closely and step in only if something goes seriously wrong. Thankfully, the students handle the early floors smoothly thanks to their talent. Once they reach the 31st floor, Orhan finally takes command and moves to the front. Suddenly, he raises his hand and tells everyone to stop. He senses monsters nearby. The group immediately prepares for combat as goblins appear ahead. Orhan tells Caroline to attack first. She rushes forward without hesitation, but she pushes herself a bit too far. Orhan is about to ask Logan to support her with magic, but Logan has already started casting. He doesn't see the point in waiting for Orhan's orders, especially since he no longer sees him as a real hero. Orhan notices Logan's attitude, but he doesn't react. Instead, his attention shifts to Sophia. She's facing an orc and completely frozen in fear. Memories of her past dungeon trauma are holding her back. Orhan chooses not to jump in immediately. Logan, watching this, thinks Orhan is a terrible instructor for letting her struggle and prepares to rescue her himself. That's when Logan realizes something strange. Orhan has quietly cast a spell that slows the orc down, giving Sophia extra time. Without drawing attention to it, Orhan calmly speaks to her, reminding her that she isn't alone anymore. Caroline, Logan, and he are all right there. If anything goes wrong, they'll help her. Those words make a huge difference. Regaining her confidence, Sophia launches a powerful fire javelin spell and completely destroys the orc. Even Orhan is caught off guard. He didn't know she could use advanced level magic. Caroline excitedly praises Sophia, and Orhan congratulates her sincerely. Logan, however, is left stunned. Orhan's timing, judgment, and hidden spellcasting were flawless. It makes no sense to him that someone with skills like this would be expelled from the hero party. For the first time, he starts questioning what he believes. The group eventually reaches the 35th floor, but their progress comes to a sudden halt when a massive tarantula blocks their path. Logan panics. He knows none of them can beat that monster alone. He's just about to suggest retreating when Orhan calmly gives an order. He tells Logan to cast speed, magic power, and defense buffs on the team because they're going to fight. Logan thinks attacking the giant spider is completely insane, insane, but before he can argue, Caroline has already rushed forward to face it head on. He panics and tries to follow her, but Orhan quickly stops him. He explains that as a support mage, Logan would only put himself in danger by going to the front. Instead, Orhan shouts instructions to Caroline. He tells her to leap over the spider and strike from behind. She follows his command perfectly, jumping over the massive creature and landing several solid blows on its back. The spider immediately turns all its attention toward her. Orhan tells Caroline to keep the monster focused on her, but warns her to stay away from its poison. Thanks to her speed, she barely manages to stay ahead of the spider's attacks. Seeing this, Orhan orders Logan to keep the buffs active while Sophia prepares her spell. Once Sophia finishes casting, she releases multiple wind blades. The sharp air slashes slice through the spider's legs, cutting off 4 of them and slamming the creature into the ground. Still, it's not defeated yet. Orhan calmly tells Logan to cast another boost, this time increasing Caroline's strength and speed. Logan doesn't understand why at first, but the reason becomes clear almost immediately. The spider suddenly fires sticky webbing and drags Caroline toward its open mouth. This is exactly what Orhan predicted. The strength boost was meant to help Caroline break free on her own, but even with the buff, she's still struggling. At that moment, Orhan secretly enhances the sharpness of her dagger. With the extra cutting power, Caroline finally slices through the web and escapes. Now it's time to end the fight. Orhan tells Sophia to fire a rock bullet spell. The attack slams into the spider and finishes it off for good. With the battle over, Orhan praises everyone for their teamwork. After that, the group returns safely to the surface. Tomorrow will be their final day when they attempt to push all the way down to the 51st floor. Selma reminds everyone to rest well and prepare themselves. As Orhan is heading out, 2 other supervisors call out to him. They aren't looking for trouble, they simply invite him to have dinner with them. Since he hasn't really talked to them much during the expedition, he agrees, and the 3 of them head to a tavern together. At the same time, Sophia, Caroline, and Logan are riding home in a carriage. Logan is unusually quiet, lost in thought after everything he witnessed. Remembering that Orhan once saved Sophia from a group of orcs, he asks her if she remembers how Orhan fought back then. Sophia says she doesn't recall all the details, but she remembers a powerful gust of wind when Orhan landed, followed by him enchanting his sword before cutting down the orcs. Logan guesses that the enchantment must have been a sharpness spell. That surprises him, because weapon enchantments are much harder than buffing people. What confuses him even more is why someone so talented with magic would fight using a sword. Sophia admits she doesn't really know either, but she did hear that Orhan recently started training as a frontline fighter. Hearing this makes Logan feel conflicted. He was angry and disappointed when he learned Orhan had been removed from the hero party, thinking he had failed somehow. But after today, he realizes how wrong he was. Orhan wasn't just a great supporter, he was exceptional. Casting debuffs is extremely difficult, yet Orhan used one effortlessly. Even Selma avoids debuffs most of the time because of how complex they are. On top of that, Orhan read the battlefield perfectly, gave flawless instructions, and even predicted the spider's final move before it happened. Logan has never seen an enchanter anywhere near this level, so why would someone like that switch to being an attacker? Caroline asks if Orhan is at least strong with a sword. Sophia nods and says he has to be, otherwise he never could have saved her from those orcs. That's when it finally clicks for Logan. Orhan isn't just talented, he's a rare genius, someone who excels in both magic and swordsmanship. Logan understands now that surpassing Orhan is impossible, at least for the moment. Still, he refuses to give up. Quietly, he makes a promise to himself he'll learn everything he can from Orhan and work hard until one day he can stand at the same level. Meanwhile, Orhan is at a tavern with the other supervisors, enjoying a well-earned meal. The food is surprisingly good, and the relaxed atmosphere feels nice after a long day. Curious, the others ask him what he used to do for fun back when he was part of the hero party. Orhan gives a small smile and says he barely had time for fun at all. Most of his days were spent handling errands, planning, and taking care of all the behind-the-scenes work. Hearing that, the others feel genuinely bad for him. It makes the article calling him useless sound even more ridiculous. If anything, it seems like Orhan was holding the entire party together. They tell him he shouldn't waste his energy worrying about people who failed to appreciate him. Hearing someone defend him like that means more than Orhan expected, and he thanks them sincerely. Still, they can't hide their curiosity. From what they know, Orhan was once an enchanter in the hero party, and according to Selma, an incredibly skilled one. So why did he suddenly switch to fighting on the front lines? Orhan explains that after leaving the hero party, he finally picked up a sword sword again, because that's what he always wanted. Before becoming an enchanter, he had joined the party as a swordsman, and becoming the strongest swordsman in the world was his lifelong dream. Watching his grandfather fight when he was younger inspired that goal. That raises another question. If being a swordsman was his dream, why become an enchanter at all? Orhan sighs and tells them it wasn't his choice. In the early days, as the hero party pushed deeper into the dungeon, the enemies became far stronger. Their team setup simply couldn't keep up. Around that time, Selma's influence began spreading, and the party decided they needed an enchanter. Since Orhan could learn almost anything, the responsibility naturally fell on him. It wasn't easy, but his decision allowed the party to reach the 94th floor. Still, Orhan says that wasn't truly a good thing. They advanced too quickly. Instead of slowly building strength, they rushed forward unprepared. Whatever waits on the 94th floor is something the hero party absolutely cannot handle right now. Trying to go further would be nothing but reckless. The mood shifts when they notice Orhan growing tense, so they quickly change the subject. They ask him what kind of swordsman he wants to become. Orhan answers without hesitation. He wants to be a versatile swordsman, someone who can adapt to any situation and even survive the deepest floors alone. The others are stunned. It's an unheard of goal, but if anyone could achieve it, they believe Orhan can. The next day, the hero party enters the dungeon once again, and remembering Orhan's warning about the danger beyond the 94th floor, one thing becomes painfully clear. They're about to do something incredibly foolish. On his last day, Orhan walks over to the new group to say goodbye, and the three kids run to him with big smiles, happy to see their teacher one final time, while Caroline jokes that this whole journey would feel better if there was a reward waiting at the end, making Logan curious enough to ask what kind of prize she wants. And Caroline slowly looks at Sophia, causing Sophia to turn red because she already understands the hint, and just as she gathers the courage to speak, Orhan gets called away and hears two adventurers talking about how the hero team is heading deep into the Great Southern Labyrinth from the 92nd floor to test a new battle plan, which makes him quietly worry they should start on safer floors, but he pushes the thought aside and keeps moving, while at the same time on the 92nd floor, Oliver feels confident and believes victory is guaranteed now that the team is free from what he calls their weak link, with most of the group agreeing except Luna, because 2 days earlier, a cheerful new girl named Philly Carpenter joined them, full of energy and excitement, and Oliver proudly says she once reached the 100th floor of the Great Western Labyrinth and calls her their first real enchanter, making Dirk and Annalie laugh and joke that they no longer need to rely on the old member, as Philly thanks everyone for the warm welcome and notices the fancy room and expensive setup, asking if all this money really goes into missions, but Oliver quickly changes the topic and says today is about celebrating Philly, not talking about Orhan, when suddenly Luna rushes in with urgent news and announces that Orhan has joined a powerful team called the Night Sky Silver Rabbits and is heading into the same labyrinth, shocking everyone who can't believe someone they see as useless could join such a strong group. And when Luna learns the truth that Orhan was kicked out and replaced by Philly, she gets angry and says it was a huge mistake because Orhan was the heart of the team and the reason they survived so long, while Annalie and Dirk argue back and say the rest of them don't feel the same, leaving Luna to finally accept that he is gone for good, which makes Oliver feel relieved as he explains their next plan to test Philly on the 92nd floor in 2 days before pushing deeper to the 94th. But Luna crosses her arms and warns them this is reckless and that even if Philly is skilled, they should start on safer floors, reminding them of the dangerous black dragon that nearly killed them before, yet the others brush her off and keep blaming Orhan for past struggles, forcing Oliver to end the argument by saying the mission will only test their new setup and not fight the dragon. And now back in the present, the hero party is already in trouble as they face powerful enemies without fully knowing how to work with their new member, and standing in front of them is a huge mammoth-like monster with thick skin and massive strength as Oliver charges forward, but the beast blocks him with its long tusks. Oliver's attack misses and he quickly pulls back as Dirk steps forward with his shield to take the front, but at the same time Oliver feels his body grow heavy because his magic boosts fade away, making him turn to Philly and ask why the power spells keep stopping, and she nervously admits she still doesn't understand how the team fights or when to use her magic, which makes Oliver remember how Orhan learned everything in less than an hour on his very first day, and before he can think more, the mammoth slams into Dirk with massive force, nearly knocking him down, causing Annalie to shout because she almost gets hit too, and even though Dirk grits his teeth and tries to hold on. Everything feels harder than usual. Annalie shoots flames at the beast, but they barely leave a mark, making Oliver stare in shock as he realizes her strength is much weaker than normal. So he tells Philly to boost Annalie, and even though Philly says she already did, she tries again. Yet Annalie's next attack still does nothing, which confuses Oliver because he believed Philly's magic should be stronger than Orhan's ever was. While Dirk struggles to keep the monster back and yells for help, snapping Oliver back to his senses as he orders Annalie to circle around and attack from the side. But the beast notices her instantly and forces her to jump away, making Oliver tell Philly to watch the enemy and warn them of its moves, only for her to admit she can't do that and can only focus on support magic, which makes Annalie groan in frustration as Oliver looks around and starts to panic because everyone feels weaker and he doesn't understand why. And just as Luna steps forward to explain the real reason, the ground begins to shake and a massive shadow covers them as the black dragon appears, filling the air with fear and heat, making Oliver gasp because the dragon was never supposed to leave its boss area. But the dragon doesn't care and crushes the mammoth like it's nothing, causing Luna to shout for everyone to run, while Dirk and Annalie refuse to back down, and Oliver clenches his fist, saying they beat this monster once and can do it again. But the dragon fires a blazing fireball that sends Dirk flying even with his shield up, forcing Luna to rush over and heal him, as Oliver turns in anger and demands to know why Philly didn't boost their front fighter, only to see her frozen in fear and unable to move. And when Annalie throws a long spear of fire at the dragon, it still does nothing, while the dragon's attack explodes nearby and throws her to the ground, making Luna scream for them to escape, as Oliver's mind spins in chaos and fear. And when the dragon begins charging a huge attack, Oliver grabs Philly, snaps her out of it, and begs for a boost, which she finally gives, allowing Oliver to pour all his strength into one powerful move. But even though a bright holy blast crashes into the dragon's fire in a massive explosion, the dragon stands untouched, making Oliver realize they can't win, and with his voice shaking, he asks Luna what to do, and she tells him he's the leader and must decide, but then offers the only way out by telling him to use the Whimsy Portal, a rare item that opens a doorway inside the maze and throws anyone who enters to a random place. Even though Philly warns it could send them to another boss area, Luna says it's still better than staying, so Oliver slams the item onto the ground and a glowing doorway opens. But before the team can move, the black dragon blocks them with a wall of fire, and in a shocking moment, the dragon itself steps into the portal, which snaps shut right after it. Dirk finally breathes out, thinking the danger is over, but Luna quickly shakes her head and says this is actually worse because the dragon might now be in a weaker area where new and helpless adventurers could get killed. So she decides to contact the guild and use the emergency function on their guild cards, explaining that this special feature can pull them out of the labyrinth in life or death moments, even if they get punished later. And Oliver agrees and gets ready to activate it, but Luna stops him and points out that Dirk and Annalie are too injured to even stand yet. So while she heals them, she speaks up and says that when they go back to face the dragon, they should replace Philly with Orhan, which makes the others protest right away. And that's when Luna raises her voice and finally reveals the truth she wanted to explain earlier, saying none of them got weaker at all, and everyone is just as strong as before, making Oliver argue that even his strongest attack couldn't hurt the dragon. But Luna explains that without Orhan, their power isn't being used the right way, and she tells Oliver that he barely charged any magic before firing his holy move, which is why it felt so weak. Then she asks him what all support magic has in common, and Oliver answers that the strength depends on the caster, while the time it lasts depends on the person receiving it, and the enchanter has to keep refreshing it because most boosts only last a few minutes. And Philly admits that part is true, but adds the real problem is that this team has very high magic resistance, so support spells fade extremely fast, sometimes in less than 2 minutes, and for Oliver it can disappear in under a minute, which makes Oliver angry. But Luna calmly explains that his body just doesn't work well with normal enchanters, and says Orhan was different because he could do things that shouldn't be possible. And when Oliver scoffs and says Philly should be able to do the same, Luna shakes her head and explains that Orhan knew his limits, and instead of complaining, he created his own spells to make up for them, which shocks Oliver, Dirk, and Annalie. And when they refuse to believe it, Luna looks them in the eyes and says it's true, then tells them they don't have time and need to leave now. And as they rush out of the labyrinth, Oliver remembers Orhan once talking about making his own magic, something he had laughed off before. But Luna corrects him and says Orhan created a support spell that could boost their power more than 50 times, making Philly gasp and say that even the famous Selma from the the Night Sky Silver Rabbits can only boost 10 times at best. And that's when Oliver finally understands that his Divine Flash only felt strong because of Orhan's magic. And Luna confirms that both Oliver's sword attacks and Annalee's spells were being raised nearly 50 times whenever Orhan supported them, which made Oliver grow careless and stop focusing properly, trusting the boosts to do the work. And she adds that Annalee had the same issue because without Orhan, she could only cast average spells. And it wasn't just offense either, because Orhan also strengthened Dirk's armor and defense at the same time, so when his magic vanished, the team didn't just lose power, their bodies also felt heavy and slow, and later, once they make it outside, other adventurers call them heroes. But Oliver lowers his head and says they don't deserve that title after almost putting others in danger, and even though they once defeated the Black Dragon, he reminds himself that back then, he swung his sword with his own hands, and in his heart, he still believes the hero party doesn't need Orhan. The expedition is finally reaching its end. Today's plan is clear. The teams will begin on the 36th floor, push forward together, and once they reach the 50th floor, everyone will activate their teleport stones and safely leave the dungeon. On paper, it sounds like a routine mission, but for some reason, Orhan can't relax. As one of the supervisors, he knows the newer recruits aren't strong enough to handle the monsters alone. Still, with experienced veterans watching over them, everything should go smoothly, and yet, the dungeon feels different today. Heavy, wrong. Orhan tries to figure out why his instincts are screaming at him, but no clear answer comes to mind. Before he can dwell on it any longer, the younger adventurers surround him, buzzing with excitement. Their energy pulls him out of his thoughts, and despite his better judgment, Orhan decides to ignore the uneasy feeling. For now, Caroline eagerly asks him how she can fight better. She wants to rack up as many monster kills as possible. Orhan shuts that idea down gently, reminding her that she's still inexperienced. As a defender, her real job is to protect her teammates, not rush ahead alone. Caroline pouts and complains that playing safe is boring. Logan jumps in, telling her she should listen, because even the legendary Albert Sensible used to give the same advice. That name makes Orhan pause. Albert was the star defender of the Silver Rabbit Guild, a hero who died last year on the 92nd floor while fighting the Black Dragon. Caroline clearly knows the story well. She explains that Albert died shielding a teammate, even though defending others was supposed to be his role. She refuses to let something like that happen again, which is why she always charges forward first. Orhan notices the pain behind her words. Whatever she's carrying runs deep. He decides not to pry, it's not his place, and changes the subject. Soon after, Sophia asks Orhan what she should work on to improve, and Logan asks for advice too. Orhan gives them both guidance, keeping things practical and encouraging. Not long after, the group enters the dungeon. During a short rest, Selma approaches Orhan and comments on how much the kids seem to trust him now. Orhan admits he was worried they might treat him differently after that newspaper article, but they accepted him without hesitation. Selma then brings up Albert again, recalling how devastating his death was for the Silver Rabbits. Even after Albert fell, Orhan and the hero party barely managed to defeat the Black Dragon. It proved that Albert didn't die because he was weak, just unlucky. She explains how hard it's been to fill the gap he left in the guild. Orhan immediately realizes she's trying to recruit him. He politely declines, saying a party doesn't need two enchanters. Selma counters by reminding him that he plans to switch to sword fighting, which would still make him incredibly valuable. Orhan doesn't commit. Soon, the mission officially begins. Teams are assigned positions, and Orhan's group is placed in Group 10, the very back of the formation. While it sounds risky, it actually means the supervisors trust them the most. Sophia feels nervous being so far behind, but Orhan explains that this is an important lesson. Dungeon layouts are complex, and if they ever get separated, they'll need to navigate on their own. Logan agrees, though Caroline clearly isn't thrilled about possibly getting lost. Orhan stresses the importance of preparation, especially studying maps before a dungeon dive to avoid deadly surprises. Curious, Caroline asks Orhan to share his knowledge, since he's gone deeper into the dungeon than all of them combined. He agrees and explains that the real lower floors start around floor 76, where ice and snow dominate the environment. The deepest zone doesn't begin until floor 91. Before he can go into detail, the kids bombard him with questions, completely derailing his explanation. Meanwhile, back on the surface, Luna arrives at the Adventurers Guild alongside the hero party. Without wasting a second, she asks to meet the Guildmaster immediately. She has urgent information that can't wait. The receptionist Eleanor calmly explains that he's currently in a meeting and can't be disturbed. Luna panics and insists there's no time to wait. Everyone inside the dungeon needs to be force teleported out right now. Deep underground, Orhan's group continues moving forward, but the atmosphere feels wrong. The dungeon is far too quiet. They haven't encountered a single monster in a long time, which makes no sense given the size of the area they're in. A room this large should be crawling with enemies. Logan breaks the silence by asking Orhan if this kind of emptiness is normal for the floor. Orhan immediately shakes his head. In all his years exploring the dungeon, he's never seen anything like this. A space this large should be crawling with monsters, yet there's nothing. It feels as if every creature nearby has either disappeared or is hiding from something far more dangerous. Caroline, on the other hand, is growing restless. The quiet is driving her crazy. She came here to fight, not to walk through an empty maze. Just as her frustration peaks, a lone goblin appears ahead, wandering carelessly through the corridor. Without a second thought, Caroline charges. Orhan shouts for her to stop, warning that the goblin is strong enough to knock her out in a single blow. She ignores him completely. With no time to argue, Orhan steps in and casts a debuff, weakening the goblin just enough to slow its movements. That opening gives Caroline the chance she needs to bring it down safely. She proudly declares her victory, but the mood quickly shifts. Sophia and Logan scold her for acting without thinking. If Orhan hadn't been there, she could have been seriously injured. Worse, they would have been forced to rush in and rescue her, putting the entire party in danger. The weight of her mistake finally sinks in. Caroline lowers her head and apologizes. Orhan accepts it, telling her he won't hold it against her, as long as she learns from it and stays careful going forward. Seeing her passion for combat, even as a defender, Orhan decides to guide her properly. He offers to teach her a technique called active defense, and her eyes immediately light up. Orhan explains that the purpose isn't to kill enemies, but to control them. By drawing attacks toward herself and striking at the moment an enemy prepares to attack, she can interrupt their actions and keep them locked down. Every creature needs a brief moment to ready an attack. If that timing is disrupted, the enemy is left vulnerable. Mastering this requires carefully watching attack patterns and reacting at just the right instant. Caroline finds the idea thrilling, but Orhan reminds her that her role is to stall enemies, not finish them off. She nods, taking the lesson seriously. Far above, the Guildmaster sits in an emergency meeting, still unsure why he was summoned so urgently. Luna finally steps forward and demands an immediate forced teleport for every team inside the dungeon. The Guildmaster hesitates, explaining that a teleport on that scale would drain an enormous amount of mana and can only be authorized in the most extreme situations. Luna's response is immediate and cold. The black dragon escaped through her unstable gate and is now roaming the dungeon on a random floor. If nothing is done, an encounter is inevitable, and no ordinary team would survive it. Back underground, Logan asks Orhan to teach him debuff magic. Orhan refuses outright. Debuffs are complicated, relying heavily on knowing an enemy's magic resistance, and they lose effectiveness against monsters on deeper floors. Instead, Orhan demonstrates something far more practical. As a pair of wolves charge toward them, Orhan does nothing. Moments later, the wolves trigger hidden traps and are taken out instantly. The group is stunned. Orhan explains that controlling the battlefield is an enchanter's true role. Preventing ambushes and shaping the flow of combat is far more valuable than direct damage. Turning to Sophia, Orhan advises her to master parallel casting. Her spells are powerful but slow. By beginning a second spell halfway through the first, she can maintain pressure without wasting time. It's difficult, but with practice, anyone can learn to cast multiple spells at once. He suggests she try it after the mission and mentions that Selma could help teach her. After a brief pause, Sophia admits she'd rather learn from Orhan himself. The request catches him off guard. He wants to refuse, but her hopeful expression leaves him no choice. With a resigned sigh, he agrees. On the surface, the teleport spell is finally ready. The Guildmaster announces that all dungeon teams will be extracted immediately. He then turns to the hero party and orders them to return and slay the Black Dragon. The room goes silent. They all know how close they came to dying the last time they faced it. Anelli starts making excuses, claiming they need time to recover, but Luna cuts her off. They will return to the dungeon and kill the dragon as soon as possible. She has only one condition: Deep in the dungeon, Orhan's group reaches the floor boss chamber. Since the enemy is far too dangerous for the recruits, the supervisors take over. Orhan charges first, drawing the troll boss's attention and controlling its movements with precision. With the monster fully distracted, the others attack in perfect coordination. The battle ends in minutes. At the same time, the hero party makes its way back toward the dungeon, following Luna. When questioned about why she ordered floors 40 through 50 evacuated first, she answers plainly, Orhan is most likely on those floors, and without him, defeating the Black Dragon would be impossible. Back below, Orhan and the supervisors defeat the massive crab guarding the 50th floor, officially ending the expedition. For the first time all day, Orhan allows himself to relax. Then the air above them begins to crack. Space itself shatters as the Black Dragon tears its way into the room. Its overwhelming presence freezes everyone in place, terror flooding the chamber. The dungeon's silence finally makes sense. The nightmare has arrived, and the real battle is about to begin. Sophia's scream echoes through the dungeon, and the entire group locks up as a massive black dragon appears before them. Orhan is the first to react, shouting for everyone to run. No one moves. Selma stands frozen, crushed by the dragon's overwhelming presence. There's no doubt in her mind, this is the real thing. A monster that should never exist on this floor. The escorts feel the same terror. The Black Dragon is a known butcher of adventurers, a tyrant that leaves no survivors. Selma knows she must take command, but fear clouds her thoughts. Orhan struggles too, quickly realizing their only hope. The floor boss is already dead, and if they can reach the teleport crystal, they might escape. But only he can move. He understands the truth immediately. Monsters attack groups, not lone targets. If he runs, he lives, but everyone else dies. That's why he draws his sword. As an escort, his duty is clear. He swears he won't abandon them no matter the cost. Buying time won't be enough. The only way out is to defeat the dragon. Orhan yells at the chaperones, snapping them out of their fear and ordering them to protect the rookies at all costs. Selma regains control and commands a defensive formation. Bernard and Anthem move forward, while Kathy raises a magical barrier around the group. The dragon strikes. The impact is terrifying, and for a moment, the barrier looks ready to shatter. Suddenly, it strengthens. Orhan has reinforced it with magic. The group survives, stunned. Selma immediately realizes he's the reason they're still alive. Sophia watches in horror as Orhan faces the dragon alone, weaving between its claws. He throws a dagger at its eye, forcing it to shut, then rushes in during that brief opening. His sword flashes, enhanced by impact magic, unleashing a massive explosion. Anthem believes the attack must have worked, but the dragon rises unharmed. Orhan remains calm. He tells Selma to focus on defending the rookies. He has a plan. Though hesitant, she obeys. Orhan then speaks to the frightened newcomers, promising he will protect them if they stay where they are. Placing a necklace around his neck, Orhan charges again. The dragon unleashes its fire breath, but Orhan vanishes and reappears elsewhere, drawing its attention away from the group. Selma watches anxiously, haunted by memories of Albert's death. She wonders if letting Orhan fight alone is truly the right choice. Meanwhile, Orhan continues to dodge with perfect timing. Creating distance, he casts a reflective wall and sends the dragon's own flames crashing back into its head. The black dragon lets out a furious screech. Orhan smirks and taunts it, asking if it enjoyed the taste of its own flames. Caroline and Logan can only stare in disbelief. They've never seen anyone reflect a dragon's fire before, and they have no idea what kind of spell could do that. Orhan calmly explains that the spell is called Reflective Wall, an original magic he created himself. Anything that touches it is sent straight back at the attacker, but once the smoke clears, it's obvious. The dragon is still standing without a scratch. Knowing brute force won't be enough, Orhan decides to gamble. He casts Status Up, boosting all his abilities at once. Selma instantly understands how dangerous that is. Status Up is a high-level spell that combines every support enchantment at the same time. Even then, it usually only doubles one's power. Then Orhan does the impossible. He casts it again and again. He keeps stacking the spell until his stats are multiplied 5 times over. Selma is left speechless. Recasting buffs should only reset their duration, not stack their effects. What Orhan is doing shouldn't be possible at all. The dragon lashes out with its tail, but Orhan vanishes in a blur, leaping an unbelievable unbelievable distance in a single moment. No one can even track his movement. Selma realizes this speed isn't normal magic. It has to be another of his original abilities. She can't even begin to guess how many hidden tricks he has left. Orhan lands, fully aware that his power has increased over 30 times. But the strain is crushing. Maintaining so many spells at once is tearing his body apart. He knows he can't last long. This has to end now. He charges the dragon again. Its tail whips toward him, then suddenly swings upward, threatening everyone behind him. Orhan clicks his tongue, impressed by the move, and creates a foothold in midair to dodge. Logan wonders if that was magic too, but it isn't. Orhan is using a rare special ability. Unlike magic or sorcery, special abilities are unique powers some people are born with. His ability, Magical Convergence, lets him gather magic into a single point and give it physical form. He can even use it to launch himself through the air. Oliver has the same ability, though he only uses it for attacks. Propelling himself forward, Orhan enhances his sword with sharpness up and durability up. Just before striking, he activates Impact. The blade crashes into the dragon's neck, finally breaking through its scales. The black dragon crashes to the ground, and Caroline gasps in shock that its armor was pierced at all, but Orhan staggers. His body is clearly at its limit. Selma's fear grows as she realizes how reckless he's being, stacking support magic, enhancing his weapon, and repeatedly using his original spells. He's fighting with the intent to win alone. Even Selma knows the truth. Not even the elite Night Sky Silver Rabbits could defeat this monster together. Joining the fight now would change nothing. The dragon roars and unleashes another blast of fire. Orhan dodges instantly and launches himself straight toward its head, preparing for another decisive strike. Watching Orhan fight, Selma feels something trembling inside her. At first, she thinks it's worry, but she quickly realizes it's something else, something unfamiliar. The feeling unsettles her, and fear tightens her chest. She doesn't understand it, but she knows she can't let it distract her now. The only thing she can do is protect the rookies so Orhan can focus on the battle. The black dragon suddenly changes its attack. Orhan senses the danger instantly and sprints away, narrowly avoiding a barrage of destructive blasts. He vanishes from sight for a moment, and Sophia panics, convinced he's been hit. The scene shifts to Orhan's childhood. Back then, he lived in a lively town, laughing and playing with his friends. Life was peaceful, until the day it all ended. While Orhan and Oliver were away training, bandits attacked their village and destroyed everything. When they returned, nothing was left. Their home, their families, their future, gone. All they could do was cry and bury the dead. Standing among the graves, Oliver swore he would become strong so no one could ever steal from him again. Orhan made his own vow to grow powerful enough that he would never lose what mattered to him ever again. Back in the present, Orhan remembers that promise. He became an adventurer to gain knowledge and strength, to stand against the cruelty of this world. And now, to protect everyone behind him, he only has to do one thing: defeat the monster in front of him. Sophia exhales in relief when Orhan reappears unharmed. Selma studies the dragon's last attack and recognizes it immediately. When the black dragon shapes that purple mist into a weapon, it's using its strongest spell, the same one that has wiped out countless adventurers. Facing it is like facing fear itself. Orhan analyzes the attack calmly. It's similar to his own magical convergence, drawing power from the surrounding magic and shaping it freely. But something feels off. Compared to the last time he fought it, the dragon is using fewer variations. That means it's still holding back. It's underestimating him. Orhan charges again, weaving through the storm of attacks. He fires a flame shot at the dragon's head to close the distance, then swings his sword. This time the dragon's scales are even harder, and the purple mist coils tightly around its body. Thinking fast, Orhan blocks multiple strikes at once, triggering an explosion that throws him backward. The dragon presses on, flooding the area with more of the deadly mist. Orhan raises a rock wall, realizing the attacks are faster now and coming from unpredictable angles. Suddenly, an attack comes from his blind spot, impossible to dodge, but Orhan had planned for it. A hidden reflective wall activates, deflecting the blow away from him. The dragon continues its relentless assault while the rookies watch in stunned silence, unable to look away from the overwhelming clash. Even Bernard is shaken. Orhan is keeping pace with a black dragon, but doubt creeps in. He asks if Orhan can really win. Selma answers quietly. Orhan can survive and fight back, but he still hasn't found a way to land a finishing blow. At this rate, defeating the dragon may be impossible. Orhan keeps moving without pause, dodging multiple attacks at once. The pressure is overwhelming. Last time, Dererick and Luna held back the purple mist. Annalie pinned the dragon with her magic, and Oliver finished it with Divine Flash. Now, none of them are here. Orhan has to fill every role by himself. Even so, he doesn't hesitate. He swore he would defeat the black dragon without relying on anyone else, no matter how impossible it seemed. He would push himself to the limit. Leaping back toward the dragon, Orhan switches to active defense. Caroline immediately recognizes the technique and realizes she's witnessing how a true dodge-type defender fights. Orhan keeps the dragon restrained and pulls it away from the group, forcing it to focus on him alone. Sophia understands now. He's been protecting them this whole time. Orhan activates parallel construction, forming multiple magic circles around the dragon at once. The area erupts in a massive explosion. Selma is stunned. Casting that many spells simultaneously should be impossible. Caroline recalls Orhan once saying that some people could handle dozens of spells at once. Clearly, he was talking about himself. Logan adds that this is how someone aiming for the deepest floors of the Great Dungeon fights. Orhan knows the barrage won't finish the dragon, so he triggers his real plan. All the spells strike at once as he activates Raise and Repeat, a trap spell that absorbs ambient magic and unleashes the previous attacks again at even greater power. It's another original spell born from his magical convergence. Selma is shocked. She never imagined trap magic could be used this way. Logan notes that Orhan is turning the battlefield itself into a weapon. True enchanter combat. The dragon spreads its wings, dispersing the flames. Orhan expected that. Back when he fought with the hero's party, there was always someone else to deliver the final blow. This time, he has to do it himself. He channels magical convergence into his sword, turning it pitch black. Unlike Oliver's golden blade, this one radiates pure darkness. Orhan slashes forward, releasing a black divine flash that clashes head-on with the dragon's fire breath and cuts straight through it. Pouring everything into the strike, Orhan embodies the kind of swordsman he wants to become, one who can fill every role alone. The dragon recoils in fear, but Orhan doesn't let it escape. He boosts the attack with impact and lands a direct hit. Still, the dragon survives, sacrificing its tail to shield its head. A deep floor boss wouldn't fall so easily. Orhan tightens his grip. He has his own reason not to lose. This is a one-on-one battle now, and neither of them can retreat. The dragon roars and charges, snapping wildly at him. Orhan dodges, but his enhanced buffs fade. Time's up. Selma immediately casts status up, but the spell fails. Orhan tells her he rejected it. Outside, buffs would disrupt his rhythm. Their job now is to protect themselves. Selma realizes what that means. He's fighting this alone, and there's no place for her in this final exchange. Orhan activates quintuple status up once more, and unleashes a devastating thunder shock, reinforced with impact. The dragon crashes to the ground, and silence follows. Then, a low growl echoes. It's still alive. Orhan is barely standing. His sword shatters in his hand. Still, he knows the dragon is just as broken. This has to end now. He casts destruction. Black mist floods the area, and an overwhelming surge of magic shakes everyone to their core. A massive pitch-black greatsword forms before him. Orhan explains that destruction compresses amplified magic into a weapon whose power exceeds even special rank spells. He creates reflective walls across the battlefield, bouncing between them until he appears above the dragon. Enhancing his body with weight up, he hurls himself downward like a missile and activates impact. The explosion rocks the entire dungeon. When the dust clears, Orhan is still standing. The black dragon is not. The group rushes toward him in relief and disbelief, realizing they're alive only because Orhan stood alone and won.
A massive flash of light hits, and suddenly Selma and her crew find themselves teleported outside the dungeon. Everyone is looking around like, wait, what just happened? Are we alive? They spot the black dragon, that absolute beast they were terrified of, but it's not breathing fire. It's just lying there, completely wrecked. Out walks our boy Orun, looking like he just went 10 rounds with a blender. He's covered in scars, breathing heavy, and looks totally spent. He just looks at Selma and says, "Hey, take care of the cleanup for me," and starts walking off like it's just another Tuesday. Pure legendary vibes, right? But of course, there's always that one hater. Gaia and Pixie are standing there with their jaws on the floor, but then their saltiness kicks in. Pixie starts shouting, "No way! There's no way this weakling defeated a dragon alone. He probably cheated or just got the last hit." Seriously, the audacity of this girl. Selma has to step in and tell them to shut their mouths because they wouldn't even be breathing if it wasn't for Orun's carry. Later that night, we see Selma back at her place, absolutely exhausted. Her sister Sophia is there to help her relax, and we get some wholesome Gap-Mo content. Selma is usually this untouchable leader, but here she's just a tired big sister. Sophia isn't just a pretty face though. She actually analyzed Arun's fight while she was watching. She tells Selma that Arun didn't use any cheat codes or weird powers. He just used the most basic movements and spells, but executed them with such perfection that he became a one-man army. He was the attacker, the defender, and the support all at once. Selma realizes that while she was busy being shocked, her little sister was actually learning from the master. The next morning, Selma meets up with Arun. She isn't just there to say thanks, she's got a high-stakes offer. She asks him to join her top-tier clan, Knight of the Silver Moon, and not just as a member, but as a frontline attacker for their strongest unit. She even wants to recommend him for a management position. Orun is humble as always, asking, "Are you sure? A guy like me? Bro, you killed a dragon." Yes, she's sure. Orun tells her he needs a little time to think about it, which is fair considering how his last friends treated him. Then comes the scene we've all been waiting for. Orun heads to the Adventurers Guild, and guess who he bumps into? It's his old party, led by that absolute clown, Oliver. Oliver starts talking trash immediately, claiming Orun only won because they weakened the dragon first. Can you believe the delusion? They even try to act like they did him a favor by kicking him out. But Arun is done playing nice. He goes full savage mode and starts listing off the exact seconds their buffs were supposed to last during their last run. He's like, "Oliver, your buff lasted 61 seconds. Aneri, yours was 134. You guys don't even know your own timing." He exposes them in front of everyone, showing that without him micromanaging their every move, they are basically useless. The look on Oliver's face is pure gold. Talk about a reality check. After the roast session, Arun tries to slip away, but Logan and the rest of Selma's crew are determined to recruit him. Arun is literally running through the streets like it's a game of tag, trying to avoid them because he's still traumatized by the idea of joining a team. He's thinking, "Man, I'm better off alone." But his heart isn't really in it. Finally, Sophia catches up to him at her favorite moon-watching spot. It's all aesthetic and peaceful. She explains to Orun what Knight of the Silver Moon actually means. She says the moon is a guide in the darkness, and their clan wants to be that beacon for others. She tells him that for her, the clan is her home, her place to return to, and she wants him to be a part of that. That hits Orun right in the feels. He realizes that he doesn't have to be a loner anymore. He turns to Selma and the group and says, "All right, I'm in. Let's do this." After a massive clash, Orun has to face the music. He lost to Oliver. Now Oliver is acting like a total brat, yelling that Arun wasn't even trying. He knows the old Arun was a monster on the battlefield and can't accept that his rival is just calling it quits. But our boy Arun is staying humble, telling Oliver that he's the one who's truly grown and surpassed him. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but that's when Xion, our favorite loyal waifu, steps in. She sees right through the weak act. Orun admits his heart just couldn't handle the pressure and the judging eyes of the elites anymore. But Xion isn't letting him wallow. She makes a badass vow to get so strong that she can stand right beside him, so he never has to carry the burden alone again. Seriously, guys, find yourself a girl as supportive as Xion. But while Orun is having his emotional moment, the rest of the world is losing its mind. We cut to the Grandmaster's office where a messenger arrives, looking like he's seen a ghost. The news? A lone adventurer just solo killed a black dragon in the south. The Grandmaster is shook to his core. He thinks it has to be Oliver, but when he hears it was actually Orun, he nearly falls out of his chair. He realizes Orun hasn't just returned to his old self, he's somehow obtained a level of power that shouldn't even exist. Now things get spicy. We switch over to Xion's current squad. They've been absolutely cleaning house, taking out 5 top-level parties like it was a warm-up. But then they get a mission from HQ. There's a dragon slayer in the south who might be working for the cult. The orders are simple: recruit him if possible, but if he's an enemy, delete him. Xion is leading the charge, and you can see the fire in her eyes. She's still mourning the Orun she lost, and she's ready to annihilate anyone from the cult who had a hand in it. Little does she know, the man she's hunting is the same one she loves. Talk about a plot twist that's going to lead to an epic showdown. Back in the main city, Arun is being summoned to the Knight of Silver clan. This isn't just a regular job interview. They want him as a high-ranking executive. The big bosses are listing his achievements like a resume from heaven. Killing dragons, managing the hero's party, and having insane tactical knowledge. But when the Grandmaster asks if he'll devote his entire life to the clan, Arun drops an absolute bombshell. He looks them dead in the eye and says, "Nope, I won't." The whole room goes silent. You could hear a pin drop. Arun explains that he isn't there for the clan's glory or politics. He's there to protect the people. He made a vow a long time ago to get strong enough to ensure he never loses anything important again. Surprisingly, this rebel answer actually wins them over, and he's officially voted in as the new ace. Next, Arun gets introduced to his new squad, the first unit. And let me tell you, this team is stacked. We've got Selma, the tactical leader. Rain, a 24-year-old mage who is... let's just say she's got a very big personality that leaves Arun a bit flustered. Luker, the 18-year-old healer. And Will, the beefy defender. The banter is top tier, but then they get to the real question. How the heck did you kill a black dragon by yourself? This is where the script gets crazy. Arun reveals his secret sauce. He's developed 2 original spells that are basically cheat codes. The first is called Impact. It can boost the power of his equipment or magic by up to 100 times. Yeah, you heard that right, 100 times. The second spell is a stacking support ability that allows him to layer buffs. During the dragon fight, he had his stats boosted by 32 times. The first unit is completely speechless. They realize Arun isn't just a jack of all trades. He's a tactical genius who literally invented new magic because he couldn't use high-level spells. It's the ultimate hard work beats talent moment, guys. But there's one tiny problem. During that legendary dragon fight, Arun's sword basically gave up on life and broke. He needs a new blade if he's going to keep up with this elite squad. They head over to the clan's master blacksmith, Alan. Alan is a legend, but he tells Orin that if he wants a sword that won't shatter under his insane power, he needs materials from the deepest floors. Orin, being the casual king he is, just opens his bag and starts pulling out legendary loot like it's grocery shopping. Manticore fangs? Got 'em. High-grade claws? Here you go. And then he drops the ultimate flex. The scales of the black dragon he just slaughtered. The team is stunned. Seeing those scales is a heavy reminder of their past failures, but it also proves that Arun is the real deal. He's not just filling a seat, he's the new powerhouse of the Knight of Silver. With a legendary dragon scale sword in the works and a squad that finally has his back, Arun is ready to redefine what it means to be a hero. But with Xion and her Dragon Slayer hit squad closing in, the drama is only just beginning. The episode kicks off with Arun feeling a bit nostalgic. He's back in a party, and you can see the determination in his eyes. He doesn't want to let down the people who actually welcomed him. Selma, the leader, calls everyone to order because it's time for a briefing. Their mission? Head down to the 86th floor to collect some noxious sheep wool. But this isn't just a simple fetch quest. Selma wants to test their coordination with Arun now in the mix. She's aiming for the 94th floor to stand shoulder to shoulder with the hero's party, and she knows Arun is the key to getting there. As they arrive at the 86th floor, the scenery is absolutely stunning. It's a vast, open area that looks more like a paradise than a dangerous dungeon. But don't let the view fool you. Selma warns everyone to stay on guard. She lays out the plan. Bill is the tank who draws the aggro. Rain provides long-range magic support. Luker handles the healing and mid-range attacks, and Selma herself provides buffs and tactical oversight. And Arun? Well, Arun is the heavy hitter at the front. Rain and Bill are a bit worried they might actually slow Arun down, since he's basically a beast. But Arun, being the humble guy he is, insists he's just part of the team and wants Selma to give him orders like anyone else. Suddenly, things get real. An invisible force attacks. It's a land dragon, and these things are masters of stealth. You can't see them, but they can definitely hurt you. This is where we see the team's unique skills. Luker activates his ability, mana tracking. He can see the traces of magic left behind by monsters, allowing him to pinpoint their exact location. He finds the dragon and blinds it with a flash spell. Now it's Selma's turn to show off. She buffs the party, and Rain launches a massive explode spell. Boom! Ah! The dragon is toasted before it even knew what hit it. Arun is genuinely impressed. He's used to the heroes party where everyone just did their own thing, but here, the coordination is seamless. He realizes that while he's strong, having a team that actually communicates makes a world of difference. Selma is a bit embarrassed by his praise, but you can tell she's happy. But wait, the party isn't over yet! 2 more monsters appear. This time it's hide turtles. These things are basically walking tanks with shells harder than diamond. Selma decides to use her trump card for coordination. Telepathy. She can link her mind with her teammates to give instant orders without saying a word. Arun is mind blown. This is exactly what he wished the hero's party had. With Selma's voice in his head, Arun maneuvers to the side while Bill draws the turtle's attention. Arun starts stacking buffs on himself. Strength up, technical up, sharpness up. He's glowing like a Super Saiyan at this point. He times his move perfectly with Bill and unleashes his signature move, Impact. In one single devastating strike, he cleaves through both turtles and the land dragon behind them. The power is so insane that the rest of the team is just standing there with their mouths open. After the battle, everyone is buzzing. They've never seen anyone handle high-level monsters with such ease. Selma asks Oren the big question. Do you think we can actually conquer the 94th floor? Oren doesn't hesitate. He tells them that even without him, their skill level is incredibly high. They've clearly put in the work over the last year, and he has full faith in them. This really boosts the team's morale, especially since they've been training like crazy ever since they lost their previous member, Albert. Selma admits she's terrified of losing anyone else, and she asks Orun to protect them. Orun promises that as a member of the first unit, he'll never let his comrades fall. With the dangerous stuff out of the way, they finish the mission by shearing the noxious sheep. Arun is even a pro at shearing wool. Is there anything this guy can't do? Back at the guild, it's time to celebrate. They head to a tavern, and the drinks start flowing. This is where the vibes really kick in, guys. Everyone is laughing, thanking Orun for joining, and talking about how much fun they had. Luker even admits he was worried Orun would be hard to talk to because he's a dragon slayer, but he's actually just a nice guy. But then, things get a little chaotic. Selma, who usually acts like the strict, composed leader, gets absolutely hammered. And when Selma drinks, her One-san energy goes through the roof. She starts getting really clingy with Orun, leaning on him and telling him how much she's been waiting for this day. The rest of the team is just laughing their heads off, teasing Selma and telling Orun to enjoy being the man of the hour. Rain and Luker are also feeling the buzz, and poor Orun is stuck between 2 beautiful drunk women. He's blushing harder than a tomato, wondering how his life went from being kicked out of a party to this. Eventually, the party ends and Orun has to carry a completely passed out Selma home. He arrives at her place late at night, only to be met by Selma's younger sister, Sophia. Now, Sophia is Orun's student, and she's a bit of a protective sister. When she sees Arun carrying her drunk sister home in the middle of the night, her mind goes to some wild places. She asks Arun if they're in that kind of relationship. Arun panics, trying to explain that Selma just drank too much because she was happy about the mission. Sophia eventually calms down and takes over. She realizes that Selma has been under a lot of pressure lately, trying to lead the unit and reach the 94th floor. Having Arun join must have been a huge weight off her shoulders. Even though she's embarrassed, Selma wakes up briefly and realizes she's being carried by Arun, making her heart flutter just a little bit. The next morning, Selma is back to her professional self, mostly. She meets Arun at the guild, looking a bit shy, and apologizes for her behavior. Arun tells her it's fine and they should just focus on the future. They share a fist bump, and you can tell this is the start of something legendary. And that's where the episode ends. Arun has found a place where he's truly valued, and the first unit has found the powerhouse they needed to reach the top. But the journey is just beginning. What kind of monsters are waiting for them on the 94th floor? And will Selma ever be able to look Arun in the eye again without blushing? You'll have to wait for the next part to find out.